Hey, everybody. Hey, everyone. I'm Angenette Levy. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. I'm really excited to be on here with you tonight. I'm sorry it's to talk about something so horrible, but we're going to just stick to the facts, stick to what we know about the murders of Rob Reiner and his wife, Michele Reiner, and what happened in court today and what didn't happen in court today in Los Angeles. And the latest news on the case, which includes the autopsy results, at least the preliminary autopsy results for Rob Reiner and Michele Reiner. If you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you always know when we go live, and hit that thumbs up button if you don't mind. That really helps the video in the algorithm. And thank you to the mods for being here tonight. Monty is here. Webby is here. Mo is here as well. And I think that's everybody who's here tonight so far. So thanks to them for being here tonight. I really appreciate that. We're trying to reach 39 subscribers. Can you imagine? We're trying to reach 39,000 subscribers. It's Wednesday, guys. Can you tell? So we have 39 subscribers, all thanks to you, but we'd really like to reach 39,000 subscribers. That would be really exciting if we could do that. I also have a little poll running in the chat. I see some people are upset that I left out movies. I'm asking what your favorite Rob Reiner movie is. So if you would let me know what that is, that'd be great. If I didn't put Stand By Me or Misery or one of your favorite Rob Reiner movies on the poll, I apologize. Just drop in the chat what you think your favorite Rob Reiner movie is, and we'll talk about that at the very end and recap the poll results at the very end as well. Just a really awful, horribly sad story, of course. Rob and Michele Reiner found murdered in their home. The DA and the cops haven't released a ton of information about exactly how they were murdered or where they were found. There is some reporting out there that they were found in their bedroom. There is some reporting out there that they were murdered in their sleep, in their bedroom, in their beds. We don't know that. We don't have 100% confirmation on that. That is from anonymous sources speaking to some other media outlets, kind of putting that information out there. The DA, Nathan Hochman, the LA DA, had a press conference yesterday. He would not confirm information like that. Right now, Nick Reiner is charged with 2 counts of first-degree murder with special circumstances. The fact that more than one person was killed during the course of these murders is the special circumstance, and there's a special allegation that a weapon such as a knife was used in these homicides. And so the sentence, if convicted for, these murders, is life in prison without parole. The prosecutors could also decide to pursue the death penalty in this case, and they have not made that decision just yet. So they have not decided whether they will pursue the death penalty or not. But that is an option. There's also been some new video that has come out, and we'll take a look at that in a little bit. And it is video of Nick Reiner early Sunday morning at a gas station. And this gas station is at, it's near the, I believe it's near the hotel where he was staying. And it's interesting because on the video, and I'll show it to you here in a bit, he just looks like a guy. Nick Reiner looks like a guy walking through the gas station, picking up a drink out of the cooler or whatever and going up to pay for it. I mean, we don't know Nick Reiner. We just know what we've seen of him on these interviews with his father when they were promoting that movie, Charlie. That's all we know. So, and he's got an oddness to him. He has struggled with addiction for most of his life. He's struggled with mental illness. There are some you know, the word going around is that he has done a lot of meth, possibly heroin, things like that. And that will kind of make you, that will exacerbate any mental illness that you have and make you do really crazy things. He talked in a podcast back in, I think, 2018 or 2016 about trashing the guest house where he lived on his parents' property. And so apparently really trashing it, like breaking a television, just trashing the place. And so this clip's been kind of making the rounds. I'll show you this clip really briefly. And it's of Rob Reiner and his son back in 2016. And they were talking about the movie, and they were talking about how they would interact with one another. And Nick was basically talking about how he could act sometimes. And it wasn't always pretty. It wasn't always good. This is a clip on Extra. So I'm going to just play a little bit of this and show you what he and his dad both said about how Nick could act at times. So here, I'll play this, and you guys can tell me what you think about it.
You don't seem very fiery to me. You seem
like you crazy. I get crazy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You don't want to set me off.
Yeah. Were you ever worried that that Nick could shine poorly on your career or something like that?
No. That never crossed my mind. I mean, you know, he's my son. I love him. It doesn't matter. That he's more important than anything that could happen to me.
Charlie, why don't you tell us what you want to thank God for?
Okay, so obviously, you know, he said basically, you know, I can get crazy. I can get pretty hot. There's another clip where Rob Reiner kind of said, you know, he can get pretty angry and pretty hot too. And so there was this talk about, and, you know, the word was out on Monday that Rob Reiner had become very upset at the Conan O'Brien Christmas party on Saturday night because his son was there, showed up. Apparently people were, you know, this was a black tie event, a very dressy event. And his son came in a hoodie, not looking, not dressed the part for a nice Christmas party, was making people uncomfortable. NBC News has reported that Bill Hader, the actor, he was interrupting his conversation with somebody and it was a private conversation. Bill Hader's not confirming that, but that was reported to NBC News. Well, guess who's had connections to NBC over the years? Of course, Conan O'Brien and Bill Hader. Bill Hader was on Saturday Night Live. So that word could have gotten to NBC News from a number of people who were at the party. But my point being, something happened at this party. Apparently, Rob Reiner was very upset, not happy with his son. Voices were raised. It sounds like they left the party at some point. These homicides occurred sometime, it sounds like, Sunday morning. The reporting coming out is that Nick Reiner checked into that Parkside Motel in Santa Monica, which is about 13 to 15 miles away from the house in Brentwood, at 4 a.m. That kind of makes you wonder if he indeed is the person who committed these homicides. He's innocent until proven guilty. Did he go to the hotel first, or did he go to the hotel after the homicides were committed? We don't know. You know, we don't know what the theory is, the police theory at this point. I'm sure they have a theory, but they're not sharing that with the public at this point in time. I should mention too, guys, we are going to have a guest joining us who's going to talk with us, going to share a really good story with us about Rob Reiner, which I thought you guys would enjoy, and then also going to talk with us about the legal aspects of all of this. We should also look at that video that I mentioned earlier of Nick Reiner at the gas station. because it's pretty interesting. You know, I told you he just looks very, you know, normal. And when I say normal, you know, I don't know the guy, as I said earlier. I don't know this guy from Adam, but he doesn't look disheveled. He doesn't look upset. Nothing of the sort. So, actually, let's play this video. This is the New York Post copy of the video. They've got some writing all over it, but I'll share this and we can take a peek at it. So here's the video from the gas station, or the interior of the gas station. And this is shortly before the police encountered him. Actually, I should check that. I don't know if it's shortly before the police encountered him. But he's just walking around with a red backpack, just kind of looking around, going to get a drink out of the cooler. No big deal. I mean, he is kind of looking around. This is a different clip than the one I saw earlier, actually. He is kind of looking around like, you know, it kind of makes you wonder if he was being a little paranoid. Again, we don't know the guy. We don't know him. We don't know if he was wondering if somebody was looking for him or what. But he's definitely looking around. We don't know if this is his normal behavior. Let's watch a little bit more of it. Just paying for the drink. He's got some cash. Apparently, you know, the parents apparently didn't really, I don't think they gave him a whole lot of money from what I was reading. He is somebody who struggles with addiction. You don't just like hand a bunch of cash out to people who are struggling with addiction, because if they're not clean, a lot of, you know, they'll use it to go buy drugs. And it's just not a good idea. It enables them. So let's find the other clip I was referring to. I apologize. I thought this was a different clip that I was looking at earlier. Okay, this is a different clip that I saw earlier.
An Exposition Park convenience store showed.
Okay, this is from a convenience store near Exposition Park. So this is near where he was taken into custody. And I have to think that they went and got these clips from the actual gas station. I can't imagine the LAPD released this stuff to them. It's part of the investigation. A lot of times, especially when I worked in local news, you'd run out to where you knew somebody was arrested or where a crime happened, and you'd go in to the convenience store, the gas station, the business. You go to a homeowner, and sometimes they just share the video with you. Now, this is obviously from the LAPD. But the video I was talking about earlier, that is not the video. So interesting. AGOT change 3764 says, personally, my opinion is it seems like a planned crime. That's very interesting. I mean, you just never know. And again, he's innocent until proven guilty. Innocent until proven guilty. That one guy says, you cannot love somebody out of addiction. Trust me on this. I agree with you 100%. It sounds like, his parents sent him to a lot of rehabs. I'm sure they spent a fortune trying to help him get clean. He made reference to Rob Reiner did in some interviews, like not, listening to the experts and maybe not always. Maybe he should have trusted his gut or himself more than the experts. I don't know what he meant by that, or maybe we all need to watch that Charlie movie to see what he's referring to. I mean, maybe he felt like he was a little too tough love on his kid, but sometimes you got to be a little tough love on your kids, especially when you're dealing with people with addiction. When the mental health stuff, when the mental illness is coupled with it, it's really hard. I mean, it's really hard. And I'm sure that he had the best treatment that money could buy, or at least I would hope so. So let's look at the hearing. I'm going to find that other clip from earlier today. But let's look at the hearing from earlier today. It was a very brief hearing. You are not going to see Nick Reiner in this hearing. It's my understanding that Alan Jackson asked that his client in the suicide vest, the prevention vest, they put them in these vests that you've seen before in the jail to prevent inmates from harming themselves. He was in one of those, and Alan Jackson asked that he not be photographed. His attorney, Alan Jackson, of course, represented Karen Reed. So he's got a really good attorney. So Nick Reiner is in court. You're not going to see him in this footage, but you will hear him very briefly, very, very briefly. And it was a brief hearing for his first court appearance. He was not medically cleared to go to the appearance yesterday after he was formally charged with those 2 counts of first-degree murder. But today they found that he was medically cleared to do it. So let's look at this. And we will play this and then talk about it.
8098. Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson, along with Caleb Mason and Elizabeth Little, and Watchman Jackson, appointed on behalf of Mr. Reiner, who's currently present in court in custody. Thank you.
Good morning, Your Honor. Habib Bailey for the people.
Jonathan, for the people, Your Honor. Thank you. And counsel, how would you like to proceed today? Your Honor, if we could, I would like to ask for a continuance of the arraignment. I want to get it complete at this juncture. It's too early. We've coordinated with counsel from the DA's office, and January 7th, with the court's permission, would be a convenient date for us to come back for potential arraignment. Thank you. At this time, I'll take a waiver, speedy arraignment waiver from your client. Thank you. Mr. Reiner, you have a constitutional and statutory right to a speedy arraignment. Your counsel is requesting that your arraignment be continued to January 7, 2026. Do you waive your right to a speedy arraignment so that your arraignment can be heard on January 7, 2026? And does counsel join in the waiver? I join, Your Honor. The court finds that the defendant has made a knowing and intelligent waiver of his right to a speedy arraignment, and that his counsel joins in that waiver. Matter set January 7, 2026 for arraignment in this department. Bail to stand at no bail. Anything further on that case? Not by the defense, Your Honor. Anything further?
No, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Your Honor.
So very, very brief. Let's back it up so you can hear Nick Reiner that just one last time.
From your client. Mr. Reiner, you have a constitutional and statutory right to a speedy arraignment. Your counsel is requesting that your arraignment be continued to January 7, 2026. Do you waive your right to a speedy arraignment so that your arraignment can be heard on January 7, 2026?
And does counsel join in the waiver?
I join, Your
The
Honor.
court finds that the defendant has made a knowing and intelligent waiver of his right to a speedy arraignment, and that is counsel joins in that waiver. Matter set January 7, 2026 for arraignment. This department failed to stand at no bail. Anything further on that case?
Not by the defense, Your Honor.
Anything further?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
So, no, Your Honor, that's all he said during that arraignment that was basically postponed. So it was his first court appearance, and it has been postponed. Probably not a huge shock. I think on January 7th, when we see Nick Reiner in court, we will see Nick Reiner likely in court in plain clothes. I anticipate that Alan Jackson will make a motion asking that his client be allowed to wear plain clothes and appear that way for the remainder of the case. I mean, Alan Jackson is no dummy. He knows how important it is to present an image to the public. I found the video, guys. It's not exactly the best clip ever, but I did find that video, so I'll put that up momentarily. Alan Jackson is a guy who's never at a loss for words, but this is a huge case, and this may be bigger than Karen Reed. Actually, this may be bigger than the Karen Reed case, and he doesn't. I mean, mental health may end up being a defense in this case. We don't know yet, but he doesn't really know 100% what he has on his hands. He may know a little bit of what he's got on his hands, but he spoke just briefly outside of the courtroom. So let's look at that.
I just have a couple of quick words. First of all, and most importantly, this is a devastating tragedy that has befallen the Reiner family. We all recognize that. Our hearts go out to the entire Reiner family. There are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case. Those need to be thoroughly but very carefully dealt with and examined and looked at and analyzed. We ask that during this process you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward, not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves. So with that, we are set for January 7th for an arraignment. That's the next court date. And that's all I have to say at this point. There may be more at some other point, but today we're going to rest on where we stand procedurally, which is this was a continuance of an arraignment. Nothing happened today substantively. We'll be back for an arraignment in the same department on the 7th of January. We'll see you then.
Why did you delay it? Why did you delay it? Why did you want to delay? Help you pay the expense?
Okay, why did you delay it? Well, I mean, there's no rush. It's a serious case. I mean, it doesn't get more serious than this in the state of California or in any state for that matter. It's a first-degree murder case with special circumstances and a special allegation. So, Alan Jackson, there's no rush to enter a plea in this case. And maybe he wants to look at any discovery maybe he's going to get from the prosecution before he has his client enter a plea. Like, now I'm fairly certain, even let's say he enters a not guilty plea, right? Let's say he does that on January 7th, which would be the expected thing. That is what you would expect to happen at the arraignment. And then the judge decides whether to continue to hold him without bail, which is very possible, or just, sets a really high bail, like $15 million or something like that. $20 million. I don't know. And then sets a preliminary hearing date. likely waive the speed, the time limits for the preliminary hearing. When our guest comes on, we will talk a little bit about that as well. And a preliminary hearing is basically where a judge just determines whether or not there's probable cause that the defendant committed a crime and the case should go to trial. It's a very low standard, but we've seen in California and in some other states, preliminary hearings go pretty long. I mean, so any Alan Jackson could have any number of strategies up his sleeve. So we'll have to wait and see what comes of that. But it's, I don't know if it was totally unexpected. Maybe because his client was medically cleared to attend the arraignment. Maybe he just feels like he needs to talk to his client a little more before he actually enters the plea. I don't know. I'd like to he's saying, we need to examine this case more, very closely, serious issues surrounding this case. Well, I'd like to know what those are, aside from the mental illness and the substance abuse. So I'd like to really know what those could be. So here's the other video that I was referring to. And this is presumably before the homicides took place. So let's pull this one up. And he's wearing totally different clothes, by the way. Totally different clothes. This is near, apparently, the home in Brentwood. This is the video I was referring to earlier. So he's just walking past a gas station. I think it's a Sinclair gas station, if I can see that sign clearly. And this I thought was, if there's the time. Okay, yes, that is just after midnight. Just after midnight on Sunday morning. We don't know what time these homicides are alleged to have occurred on Sunday. So we have no idea. So I would really like to know, I thought I read today that somebody was estimating that Rob and Michele Reiner had been deceased for a number of hours, or at least the stabbings had occurred a number of hours before they were discovered by their daughter, Romy, who apparently lived across the street. So it's really, really interesting. It'll be interesting to learn a little bit more about what the police believe happened here. I mean, I wonder if they have a theory right off the bat. We don't know if they've got a security, cameras around the house. Most people do have cameras around their house. I mean, it doesn't mean they have them in their bedroom. But we do know from the medical examiner that Rob and Michele Reiner died as the result of multiple sharp force injuries. The preliminary autopsy results are out. So that's really sad, very heartbreaking. This is the preliminary listing on the website for the Los Angeles County Medical Examiner. Michele Reiner, date of death, December 14th. Cause A, that's the main cause of her death, was multiple sharp force injuries. Cause D, other significant conditions. I don't know what those would be. But I do know that our special guest is now with me. And so I'm going to bring him on. A lot of people love him and his I'm going to remove that. His background. Here he is, Philip Dubé.
How are you?
Thank you so much for coming on. How are you?
I'm groovy. How are you, Angenette? Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for joining me. Sorry, I said earlier it's Wednesday. I'm mixing up my words. I love your background, and it looks like you've changed things up a little. Is this are you changing it up for fall, or what's going on?
Did I?
I'm just asking because it looks a little bit different.
Maybe I moved things around a little bit. I have a sort of like a handler who comes and sets up all the lighting and does all that. And I'll be honest, I don't even pay attention anymore.
Oh, that's very interesting. Well, one of our mods, Sirius Black, thank you for being here tonight. She says, welcome, Philip. She's excited to see you.
Okay, thanks.
Karen Lee says, Philip Dubé fan here. Seriously, I am. She's excited you're here, Philip. I'm excited you're here too. So, Philip,
yes.
We watched before you came on. Let's talk about this a little bit. We watched before you came on the arraignment, but it's the continued arraignment, I should say. We watched it before you came on. And I think we should watch it again really quickly again, just to get your reaction to it, because it was such a nothing burger. And I want to get I just want to know what you think of it. And so I'm going to put this up on the screen. We'll watch it and then we'll talk about it. So let's see. Here we go. I'll be interested to know if you know this judge too. So let's watch.
25 CJC F08098.
Good morning, Your Honor. Alan Jackson, along with Caleb Mason and Elizabeth Little, Fortune Jackson, went on behalf of Mr. Reiner, who's currently present in court in custody.
Good morning, Your Honor. Habib Bailey for the people.
Jonathan Chung for the people, Your Honor. Thank you. And counsel, how would you like to proceed today?
Your Honor, if we could, I would like to ask for a continuance of the arraignment. I want to get it complete at this juncture. It's too early. We've coordinated with counsel from the DA's office, and January 7th, with the court's permission, will be a convenient date for us to come back for potential arraignment.
Thank you. At this time, I'll take a waiver, speedy arraignment waiver from your client.
Thank you.
Mr. Reiner, you have a constitutional and statutory right to a speedy arraignment. Your counsel is requesting that your arraignment be continued to January 7, 2026. Do you waive your right to a speedy arraignment so that your arraignment can be heard on January 7, 2026? And does counsel join in the waiver?
I join, Your
The
Honor.
court finds that the defendant has made a knowing and intelligent waiver of his right to a speedy arraignment, and that is counsel joins in that waiver. Letter set January 7, 2026 for arraignment. This department failed to stand at no bail. Anything further on the case?
Not by the defense, Your Honor.
Anything further?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Okay, Philip, I got to know, I was expecting, all I was expecting out of this today was a not guilty. I mean, we're so early on in this whole thing. So why are they not ready to enter a plea? I mean, every criminal defendant on the face of this earth, for the most part, enters a not guilty plea at arraignment. So what makes this case any different?
There's a few things that are going through my mind right now. Number one, I just have a feeling that this is the first time that Nick has ever met Alan. I just have a feeling that the family called Mr. Jackson's firm and said, my brother's in trouble, or my nephew, or whoever it is that made the call. We definitely want your services. Are you available? And of course, they negotiate the retainer. They do all of that. But at the end of the day, under California law, Nick is the client. And it is ultimately his decision who he wants to represent him. Merely because the family is coming in and ponying up the cash to retain counsel does not mean that Nick is bound by that agreement. So it creates an inherent conflict when you think about it. On the one hand, counsel is getting paid by the family, but he's accountable to the client, not to the family. So this is a classic reason why California law requires in our ethical rules that the client in a criminal case sign a written agreement agreeing to the representation by that attorney. So it could just be that Nick is still fragile. He still might be in the sort of like the what I call the rising blood stages of the psychotropic medication that they have him on, and that he's not able to have a rational discussion with anybody right now, let alone with Alan. So they want to put it over long enough for the medication that they're giving him in the jail to enable him to have a rational legal discussion with counsel. And if at that time or in the sort of intermittent period, he goes down to the jail to visit with him, establish a rapport, establish a relationship, Nick can then decide if he really wants Mr. Jackson as his counsel. Now, as a practical matter, there's no reason why he should say no. I mean, it's absurd. He's probably one of the, the greatest defense attorneys in America and hotly sought after. And frankly, Alan doesn't need his business. Okay. He can write his own ticket. So we all know he'll be in good hands, but at the end of the day, it is the client's decision. Okay. That's number one. Number two, to be fair to Alan, he hasn't really received the materials yet.
Right.
And under California law, whenever a criminal complaint is filed alleging a felony where you don't have a grand jury, you have rights before arraignment. And one of them includes the right to demur to the complaint, meaning you have an opportunity to actually attack the face of the complaint itself. If it, for whatever reason, is defective in any of its language, you can bring a written demur challenging it. And if it is sustained, the remedy is it's dismissed and they have to refile the case. So to be fair to Alan, he needs time to review everything, look at the face of the complaint and not burn the opportunity to bring the demur. Because again, if it's not brought at arraignment in writing or before arraignment in writing, it's waived. So he needs that opportunity. That's the second reason. The next reason is it really could be that Nick is in no state of mind right now to have a legal conversation and that he needs to go back to the jail. He needs to be seen. There could be a medical and a psych order in place to have him reevaluated to make sure that they have him on the right drug. If he was in the care of another doctor on the outs before he got arrested and he has a chart that shows various medications, if any, that he was on, then you want jail doctors to reach out to his treating doctors to see if they can sort of maintain that same line of consistency. Otherwise, what you're going to have is you're going to have somebody who's psychiatrically unstable. And if that's the case and Alan has a doubt about his competency, he needs to go to a state hospital. He has to go to a state hospital and remain there until he is restored to competency. But for now, it seems like it's a wait and see as to whether or not the meds are working or to see if Nick really wants him as his lawyer or if a demur needs to be filed. And number four, I hate to say it because I've done it myself. Alan might have a pre-planned vacation. It's right around the holidays. And you're getting okay, let's be honest here. You have the practical realities of life. The last thing you want to do when you have a cruise prepaid is be stuck under a courthouse mistletoe around the holidays. So it wouldn't surprise me in the least, frankly. And I have no evidence to suggest that.
Right.
Practically speaking, it is realistic.
And I wondered that about the holidays too, but what you are saying actually makes a whole lot of sense. The first thing that you said makes a lot of sense to me. They've got this guy yesterday. He wasn't even cleared medically to appear in court.
Yeah.
Today, he's medically cleared enough to go to court. So if he wasn't even medically cleared yesterday to go to court, would he even be medically cleared to see an attorney in the jail? And if you're not even medically cleared to go to court and be like, not guilty, or no, I want to continue my arraignment. Like if you're not even medically cleared to do that, then, can you even see a lawyer in the jail? Like that your family called, your family's freaking out and they're like, oh my God, what do we do? They're like, we should call that Alan Jackson guy. He got Karen Reed off. And like they call Alan Jackson. He's like, yeah, I'll take it for this much, but I gotta like, just because you're calling me, it doesn't mean I can represent him. That whole thing makes sense because the kid might, I call him the kid. He's not a kid. He's 32 years old, but the guy may not be with it enough to be like, yeah, I want to meet with you. So could he have maybe not even been medically cleared or whatever enough, medically sound enough to have met with Alan yesterday, even for like 20 minutes?
All right. Just so it's clear to your viewers, there's a difference between being medically cleared and psychiatrically cleared. Medically cleared means that you have some type of ailment, some type of disease, maybe an infection, or who knows, it could be COVID-19. We had a ton of that during the pandemic where they physically cannot come to court because they are ill. So unless and until the doctor clears them, gives them what's called a medical go-ahead, the green light, you got to stay at the jail. Okay. Now, there are situations where if it is a final day, like, for example, for a preliminary hearing or a trial, and they cannot bring him to court, then it's good cause to continue the matter, period. And the law recognizes that in our penal code, that there will always be good cause exceptions to the right to a speedy arraignment, a speedy preliminary hearing, and a speedy trial. So I have a feeling that he was medically cleared, but psychiatrically, they didn't make a determination as to whether or not he was mentally competent to proceed. Instead, the court makes that determination along with the input from counsel. So it sounds to me like Alan met with Nick and started questioning his ability to understand the nature of the proceedings or his ability to rationally assist in his own defense. That's the standard. Does he understand the nature of the proceedings? If yes, then the next question is, can he rationally assist in his own defense? And it sounds like Alan might have a question about that and wants to have him seen. So he might get a psych to go down to the jail, meet with him, and make sure he is mentally competent. If he is not, everything comes to a halt, and he will go to a state hospital. And out here, it's called Patton State Hospital in Riverside County. Sometimes they'll go to the Metropolitan State Hospital in Norwalk. And he'll remain there until he is restored to competency. And that's how it works. So for now, it's a wait and see. So the short answer is we don't know, but those four are my guesses. It's a vacation that was pre-planned. It's a demurrer that he might want to file. It could also be that there are issues with the family and whether or not Nick is agreeing to the representation by Alan. And the second one is that, that he needs to be medicated. And he wants to make sure that he is medicated to therapeutic levels before they go any further.
Interesting. Now let's look at what Alan said outside of court, and then we'll talk about that. And it was very brief. Again, this is a much different Alan Jackson that we saw at the Karen Reed trial. So let's play this.
I just have a couple of quick words. First of all, and most importantly, this is a devastating tragedy that has befallen the Reiner family. We all recognize that. Our hearts go out to the entire Reiner family. There are very, very complex and serious issues that are associated with this case. These need to be thoroughly, but very carefully dealt with and examined and looked at and analyzed. We ask that during this process, you allow the system to move forward in the way that it was designed to move forward, not with a rush to judgment, not with jumping to conclusions, but with restraint and with dignity and with the respect that this system and this process deserves and that the family deserves. So with that, we are set for January 7th for an arraignment. That's the next court date. And that's all I have to say at this point. There may be more at some other point, but today we're going to rest on where we stand procedurally, which is this was a continuance of arraignment. Nothing happened today substantively. We'll be back for an arraignment in the same department on the 7th of January. We'll see you then.
Why did you delay it? Why did you delay it?
So he says, serious issues surrounding this case. I mean, we all think he means the mental health, the drug issues.
Yes.
I mean, what else could he be discussing?
Well, first of all, I don't know if you know this, Angenette, but it was widely reported that when Nick was in court, he was wearing a safety gown.
Right.
In the old days,
Blue thing.
yes. In
And
the old days,
apparently Alan Jackson didn't want him photographed in that. So he asked that he not be shown in that.
Right. But I don't think that's what happened. I think instead what happened, Alan stood in the way of the eye of the camera and physically blocked him so the camera could not get a good glimpse of him for the whole world to see. That's just a guess, but he was definitely there. In the old days, we used to call the safety gown that they call it now to be politically correct, a suicide gown. And basically it looks like this sort of Velcro wrapper, almost like a straitjacket in blue. And they come out into court looking like almost like a waltzing Matilda. And it's just degrading and humiliating. But the bottom line is, unless and until he is rendered mentally incompetent, they still have to bring him into court. It doesn't matter if he is on a stretcher, if he's on a gurney, on a walker, in the waltzing Matilda security outfit, it doesn't matter. They got to bring him out. So that's what they did here. I actually liked his little brief talk to the press. At the end of the day, this is not a cop case. Right? This is not an LAPD on trial in the court of public opinion because corruption is running deep.
Like well, not yet.
Not yet. The way it was in Canton with Karen Reed. So it's a different set of.
I only say not yet because of OJ. That's why I say that.
Yeah. So it's a different set of operative facts. It's a completely different case. And it really is one that touches upon very sensitive, deeply private family issues that are embarrassing to go public about, you know? So he's trying to be guarded, not to sort of air the dirty laundry of the family, if you will. And that's what he's supposed to do. I mean, at the end of the day, all of that is work product and it is attorney-client privilege. You don't want that out in the media and certainly not in the court of public opinion. It's just unsavory, you know? What else can I tell you? There was something else that I wanted to say and I don't even remember, but maybe you'll remind me.
Yeah. And I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I just, this is, you know, he's not committing to much of anything yet. Everybody knows that Nick has had a history of substance abuse. Everybody knows about the mental illness. Everybody knows now. It's out there. They did a movie about it. Okay. It's out there. It's all going to come out with a case like this.
Yes.
The question is, and so Alan's not committing to anything. Okay. He's not committing to anything. He's not saying my guy did it, even though he kind of like, he certainly didn't stand there and say he didn't do it. No. You know, everybody thinks he did it, you know, based on where we are at this point in this case. It just takes me back to OJ, you know, another famous murder case in Brentwood. And I say that because, I mean, we know what we've heard so far about him checking into the Parkside. I think at Parkside. Now I'm getting my motels and hotels mixed up. In Santa Monica, it's like 13 to 15 miles away.
Yes.
At 4 a.m. We don't know who, like, we don't know if the homicides allegedly happened before he checked in or after. Reportedly, they didn't see any blood on him when he checked in. That means nothing, though, because it could have been on his clothes. He could have been covered up. We just don't know. We have no idea. We don't know what the theory is, right? Because he checks in at 4 a.m. The homicides could have happened before then or after. He's seen strolling around Brentwood. This is like by his arrest. He's walking around, Philip, at this gas station. You know, before his arrest. Look at this. This is right before his arrest.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the guy, but he looks cool as a cucumber when he's going into this gas station. We watched it before you came on, and he was kind of looking around, doing a little bit of, kind of looked a little paranoid and stuff like that at points, but he doesn't. I mean, he looks a little paranoid. He didn't see the whole thing there, but he doesn't seem I mean, he doesn't seem like overly paranoid or anything like that. He's just a guy walking around. And then there's the other clips, after midnight of him walking around in other clothes. And this was hours before this, in other clothes, by his parents' house near another gas station. So I think there's a lot of gaps in the timeline. We don't know when these murders allegedly occurred. What time, other than obviously it happened sometime before 2:00 when the masseuse arrived. And before 4 a.m., after 4 a.m., we don't know.
Yeah. So I think and it all ties into why Alan Jackson was so guarded in front of the press. And I think a lot of it has to do with California law. I think initially when he got the call, and this is all rank speculation, I just know how it works when I'm practicing, when the call comes in and says, hey, you got an arraignment, you need to go down, these are the facts, just get ready. I have a feeling that Alan immediately thought that he had a not guilty by reason of insanity client, okay? But when you look at California law, you cannot put on that defense and you cannot get a jury instruction in the sanity phase of the not guilty by reason of insanity trial if the insanity was caused by drugs. So if it was brought on by some type of intoxicant, such as methamphetamine, cocaine, fentanyl, PCP, or even alcohol, or marijuana, whatever it might be, you cannot avail yourself to that defense under California law. Worse yet, if your mental illness is a personality disorder, like the borderline personality, the conduct disorder, the histrionic personality, I mean, there's just like a laundry list of them in the DSM. But California law does not recognize the antisocial personality disorder or the borderline personality disorder for purposes of insanity. Mm-hmm. So I think what Alan wants to do is do some research into his psych history to see if he has a documented history of a settled mental illness on the psychosis spectrum, like bipolar disorder, schizophrenia, schizoaffective disorder, or even PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Everybody dismisses that ailment as something that shouldn't qualify, just a little trauma. No, we see war vets coming back from Nam, from the Persian Gulf, who are broken forever. They will never be the same because of the emotional toll that being in combat has taken on them. And finally, the scientific community and the legal world has recognized them as mental illnesses. So my point is this: he doesn't want to commit to what we call the NGI defense, not guilty by reason of insanity, until he reviews his history. So he's just being extra cautious, and that's just a guess before he goes public with how he intends to proceed.
Makes sense 100% though, that you can't use, drug-induced psychosis as for NGI, because then everybody who goes out of their mind on drugs, which is a lot of people, would be saying, oh, I'm NGI. And yeah, I'm NGI. Well, like, of course you smoked a bunch of meth and killed people. Of course you were out of your mind. That's actually, I feel like, a very good law, because if the drugs did induce the psychotic state or the whatever, that's a choice. You might be addicted, but you still, instead of going to an NA meeting or seeking help or calling your sponsor, you went out and smoked a bunch of meth.
Yeah, exactly.
There are ways to deal with that. We have the preliminary autopsy reports, and basically the preliminary autopsy reports say, Philip, that, we were hearing, TMZ was reporting that, it's really horrible, but they were reporting that their throats had been slit. Rob and Michele Reiner's throats had been slit. But now the preliminary autopsy report says it was multiple sharp force injuries. That's really disturbing. That's all they're saying at this point. Cause A, multiple sharp force injuries. other significant conditions, cause D. So, I think it always says that for cause D, but multiple for both mom and dad. That's not one. That's not what TMZ was reporting. It was more than one sharp force injury.
That's correct.
That's horrible.
And I've seen this before. And believe it or not, Angenette, and your viewers need to know this, is particularly in LA County, this crime is actually quite common. The only thing that sets this apart from the other common ones is that it involves a beloved celebrity. If this were not Rob Reiner, this would just be some family on the West Side who got killed by their kid. The DA's office here in LA County has a special unit. You know what it's called? Family violence. That's the name of the unit. And I'm not talking about the typical slap or shove or push. I'm talking about homicide. I'm talking about interfamilial or spousal rape. I'm talking about arson, murder. This goes on within families. And I hate to say it, but celebrity homes are no different.
Mm-hmm.
They are always going to be subject to that criminal element. It's just nobody wants to talk about it, you know? Yeah. So I am not surprised in the least. Now, what I do think happened here, this is just me. I think this was a meth-fueled psychosis. And I think that given his itinerant sort of nomadic lifestyle, literally living sort of like the transient, homeless, unsheltered life out there on the streets, getting loaded and then coming back to what's familiar for the occasional meal, maybe to shower, or a place to hang your hat or crash. He went in there completely loaded in the wee hours and probably heard sounds, didn't even realize that he was in his parents' own home, and probably thought he was being confronted by the Jolly Green Giant, fire-breathing dragons, gargoyles, monsters, who knows what, grabbed knife to act out to kill and thwart what he thought was the demonic spirits and Satan, never even realizing that he was killing his own parents, because that's how deluded and psychotic he was. And that's the type of Herculean strength that he had, that paranormal strength from the dope. And that is why meth is so insidious. And I hate to say it, this family and this occurrence, just a statistic. It goes on all the time, particularly in LA County. And this meth, I'm telling you, is a real scourge in American society. And by the way, fentanyl is not too far behind it. That is killing people as well, as you well know. Mm-hmm. So what I think happened was that after he did it, he left the house. He was going through, it's almost, they call it crepuscular or twilight. Sometimes in the dementia world, the Alzheimer's world, the patient goes through a phenomenon called sundown syndrome. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, where right around twilight, they start getting irascible and irritable, and they start punching and yelling and carrying on because they're so disoriented. Well, imagine that on steroids from methamphetamine. That's what's happening. You're completely out of your mind and you become maniacal and homicidal. And it took hours for him to finally get the drug out of his system, come down from it. And I think when he realized what he did, he just did a face palm like that in utter shame and in utter disbelief. That's what I truly believe happened. I do. I don't think he had any. I do. Now, the problem is
interesting. I don't know.
It's not a defense. The problem is it's not a defense.
No, it's not.
It's going down. Going down. That's the problem.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how Alan Jackson handles this, because he, I've been thinking. There are some things I'm thinking that I don't want to say on here. Okay. Things that I've seen on the internet, on my social media. Who knows where Alan Jackson is going to take this defense? But I think he has to be pretty careful with this. I don't know what his game plan is going to be once he gets the discovery and starts looking through it.
Can I tell you, for my client, I already know what the end game would be. The agenda would be to try to settle. This is the kind of case that cannot go to trial. First of all,
that's my thought. That's my thought. But Alan Jackson is like a brawler. You know, you don't hire Alan Jackson unless you want to fight, right?
Well, not necessarily. That's not true. Alan is a very smart man, and he has perspective, and he knows what battles to wage, what hill to die on, and he knows what's in the best interest of his client. At some point, he's not an idiot. He can sit down and look at this evidence and hold it as a backdrop to California law and say, we cannot win this. We just cannot win it. The end game here is to settle it for something that won't send him away for life. And it's tough because you have a double homicide. In theory, he is death eligible.
Right.
And if it didn't settle, he could get life without parole. The special circumstance here is that they had multiple victims with a deadly weapon. You know?
I don't see Nathan Hochman unless they really find something in his background and in his, if all this stuff is true, showing up at Conan O'Brien's party high in a hoodie, you get into an argument with dad's mad that you're coming in there acting inappropriately and embarrassing him, and you guys are having a verbal back and forth, and Nick has said in the past, you really don't want to make me mad, don't want to set me off. It's on there on Memorex, on YouTube. I don't see Nathan Hochman saying like, yeah, we'll give him parole eligibility in 40 years. No way in heck is that happening. I think the best they can hope for is he goes to like a mental hospital. I mean, you know what I mean? Like how on earth Nathan Hochman is not going to settle this case.
I got news for you.
Not for 40, like parole eligibility in 40 years. That's my feeling. Unless they turn up something really sketch in the background.
Well, look, if you compare this to the Menendez brothers really put on a silly defense. Their defense was
some people are alluding to that with this.
No, that's ridiculous. Come on. No,
that's what people on my social media are saying. I'm like, are you joking?
No, you're always going to get the conspiracy theorists out there. There was nothing like that going on. What you really have here, and where it gets complicated, is a history of addiction and possibly a mental health component, possibly a personality disorder, and you never know, maybe a developmental disability. When you have the four co-occurring disorders, do you know how hard it is to treat all that concurrently? If I were defending him, the defense would be that health and wellness failed him, meaning he could not find the right practitioner who had mastered the art of treating and healing combined mental illness, drug addiction, with personality disorder, and a developmental disability like ADHD. Do you know how hard you need a village of providers to treat that so that someone could be kept stable and nonviolent? And it sounds like what was happening to the young man is that he found the right doctor to only treat one of his ailments. The problem is you have to treat them all concurrently and in harmony. Otherwise, you're going to spiral and relapse and decompensate. And that's what I think happened here.
I agree with you 100% that you have like different, you can't use an addiction specialist to treat, psychosis or whatever. You know what I mean? Like there's different, they have to all kind of work in tandem. But the problem is that, and we don't know who they were paying. We don't know but this kid had been in rehab like 18, 19 times. And his parents probably tried to find the best people to help him. But we don't know the whole background. We don't know the whole background. I want to let everybody know that we've got some new members. We're going to shout them out at the end, and we're going to thank the person who bought the membership. So it's very generous. So we're going to do that here shortly. But Philip, you know as well as I do that Rob Reiner, I assume, he alluded to the fact that, sometimes he listened to the experts when maybe he should have trusted his gut or whatever, because he knows his kids best. But I'm sure Rob Reiner spent a fortune trying to help his son with specialists and,
of course,
rehabs and what have you.
Just so you know, Angenette, do you have any idea, even in the public defender world, in our justice system, how hard it is to find a treatment program that can take a patient with co-occurring disorders, like the 4 that we talked about. Again, if you're not treating them all in tandem and you're only doing them individually, you're never going to get better. You're always going to be subject to relapse. That's the problem. If I had somebody come to me, and I get calls occasionally, hey, my son is doing this, this, and this, and this, what should I do? You know what I tell them all the time, because I think they're the most knowledgeable? Bring your kid to a forensic psychologist, not a clinical one, a forensic one, because they are the ones who are trained and most adept at recognizing multiple co-occurring disorders going on simultaneously. It's part of their curriculum. So they might not be able to treat it, but at least they can refer it, or they can work with other providers. It's like a little mini village to try to help the patient, you know?
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. I mean, with my son, he's a kid. I mean, but he, you know, and he's not into drugs, thank God, but he's got like one doctor for ADHD, one for something, you know what I mean? Something else that like, my background, like I know about how you needed, and they told me, oh, I don't specialize in that, so you need to go to somebody else for this, and you know what I mean, like, so that it's like different people specialize in different things. You can't just go to like a psychiatrist who's like, and they're like, oh, they can just go like, okay, here we got it all handled. It doesn't work that way. So Philip, we're gonna wrap it up here in just a moment, but everybody, Philip posted something on Instagram, and I saw it yesterday. I read it yesterday, and I was like, oh my God, what a nice story. So Philip, of course, was at the LA County Public Defender's Office for many years. And so he is a former public defender, and he, of course, went to law school out there in LA. So Philip has a story about Rob Reiner, guys. So you got to hear this story and not just read it on Instagram. Yes. So Philip, please share with us your Rob Reiner story, if you wouldn't mind.
Yes, this was right around April of 1995. Okay, and I was years old. Okay, so back then, I was, when I tell you I was poor as a church mouse, I didn't have a pot or a window, okay? I had a study hour, I had to break away, and the law school was a few miles away from one of my favorite delis that is now gone. It was a chain out here in LA called Jerry's Famous Deli. Mm-hmm. And this one is we call it the Borscht Belt area of LA, sort of like the Jewish Quarter, not too far from there. And a lot of celebrities would go in there and get a bite to eat because the deli food was absolutely fantastic. I mean, the traditional bagels and lox and the chopped liver and the matzo ball soup and gefilte fish, whatever you wanted, they had it all. Pickled herring. And I went in there and I had notes strewn about everywhere. You talk about ADHD. I really looked like the classic textbook definition. I had papers everywhere, case books, outlines, all this. And I had a Kaiser roll in one hand and I'm biting into it, you know. And I look out of the corner of my eye and I see Rob Reiner. I said, oh my God, that's Meathead. You know, remember, this was like over 30 years ago. And he kind of winked. And I just, oh my God, that's really Rob Reiner. Okay. Anyhow, I finish up what I'm doing. I had to get back to the campus and I yelled over to the waiter. I said, gosh, can I have my check, please? He goes, oh, no, don't worry. It's already taken care of. I said, I beg your pardon? He said, no, Rob took care of it. I said, what? Rob Reiner took the check. I packed up all my stuff to go over there to thank him. He was gone. He slipped out the door. Can you believe it? So I didn't get a chance to thank him. So and by the way, a few weeks later, this is the truth. I went back there again. The same thing happened, but that time there was a comedian. I'm sure a lot of your viewers don't even remember him. His name was Rip Taylor. And he was that crazy comedian who used to throw confetti all around. You know, he was a Vegas favorite. And he was at a table there with a bunch of people. He was getting stuff to go. And he saw me. And I said, oh, my God, that's Rip Taylor. You know, he comped my check. Wow. I couldn't believe it. So what do? Now I try to pay it forward. When I go to the market and I see somebody in front of me who's short, I just pick up the difference. If I'm at a restaurant, I pick it up. If I see a homeless guy in front of a 7-Eleven, I buy him a corn dog. I do whatever I can to pay it forward, because that's the indelible impression that these gentlemen left on me, you know? And that is my only lasting impression of Rob Reiner, that moment in time of absolute, utter generosity, you know?
Yeah. I mean, because he's this huge Hollywood director at that time. This was post A Few Good Men. That movie came out in 1992. I love that movie. You know, before that, When Harry Met Sally. So 1992, he would have been married to his wife, I think, for, you know, a couple years or whatever, because they said he rewrote the ending of When Harry Met Sally because he had met his wife, Michelle. And so that's how, you know, how much she was the love of his life. So I just, when I read that story, I was like, how amazing. So he probably sees you're this like guy studying for, you know, your law school student or whatever. And he's probably like, gosh, that guy's studying to be a lawyer or whatever. He's sitting there reading his book and he's probably like, I'm just going to pick up that guy's check. You know, and so that's just such a really lovely story.
I thought it was too. It's touched me to this day. It really has, you know? And I think about it, especially when I'm in the area and I drive by, the restaurant is gone. I don't even know what's there anymore. A lot of those delis really died during the pandemic, not to mention that they kind of priced themselves out. It wasn't cheap to eat there, by the way. Deli food can be a king's ransom to eat, especially for a table of 4, you know?
Yeah.
So not to mention, it's not the healthiest either.
Right.
You know,
but I just think, you know, he's a big Hollywood guy. He doesn't have to do that. And it's not, I'm sure he's probably not out telling people he did that either. He's just a wealthy guy who can afford to do it. And he did it. So I think it was just a great story. Well, I appreciate you coming on, Philip. We'll follow this closely and I hope you'll come back and we'll talk some more another time.
Anytime, as they say right there. Happy Hanukkah, happy holidays. Okay.
Happy Hanukkah to you.
All right. Be well.
Be well. See ya. All right. Philip Dubé, guys, the great Philip Dubé. We really appreciate him coming on. I want to shout out our new members before I wrap this up. Brent in Aussie is one of our new members. Callie Dime is one of our new members. And we want to thank that one guy for buying these memberships. That's really generous. Burning Queen 7609, Ruby for Justice, and Metal Stylist 8982. Thank you so much for being new members, courtesy of that one guy. Oh, that one guy, Georgia, one guy, GA. So everybody, thank you so much. If you've been watching on replay, thank you for watching. Remember to hit the bell, hit subscribe, hit that thumbs up button to help the video in the algorithm. Thank you to the mods who are here with me tonight. Monty, Webby is here. Sirius Black is here. Mo is here. Thank you so much to everybody who's been here tonight. We will continue to follow this case and others. Let me know what cases you'd like to hear about, and I will discuss them. But this is an important case, and it's made me really sad this week. Just horrible. Watch a Rob Reiner movie. Also, I want to update you on our poll. I had the poll up. Let's look at those results really quickly before I sign off. Before we sign off, it looks like 208 of you voted in our poll. 34% say When Harry Met Sally was their favorite Rob Reiner movie. Then second is A Few Good Men, 27%. 26% said The Princess Bride, and This Is Spinal Tap is 12%. So thank you for voting in the poll. I know other people had Misery in the chat and Stand By Me. Don't hate on me, but I've never seen Stand By Me, and I probably should have, but I haven't. So, you know, maybe I'll watch that movie over Christmas break. But again, everybody, thank you so much. Thanks for joining. Tell all your friends to come on over and check us out. I'll try to be back here again sometime soon. Again, the squeaky wheel says the poll is rigged. It demands a recount. You got to vote, right? Tell all your friends to come on over in the chat and vote. Again, guys, thank you so much. I'll see you again soon. Let me know where you've been watching from, city, state, country, all that. You know the drill. See you again another time. Have a great night. Bye-bye.